This episode is brought to you by Google Gemini. With the Gemini app, you can talk live and have a real-time conversation with an AI assistant. It's great for all kinds of things, like if you want to practice for an upcoming interview, ask for advice on things to do in a new city, or brainstorm creative ideas. And by the way, this script was actually read by Gemini. Download the Gemini app for iOS and Android today. Must be 18 plus to use Gemini Live.
'Twas the nights before Christmas. Despite last-minute stress, few were delivering except Walmart Express.
Stockings were hung by the fireplace with care, knowing in about an hour stuffers would soon be there.
On to the road, Walmart Express delivery went. Chock full of wondrous things in the St. Nick of time sent. Let's go!
Get express delivery in as fast as an hour, even on Christmas Eve. Orders must be placed by 4 p.m. local time on 12/24. Subject to availability. Fees and restrictions apply.
Express delivery to y'all and to all a good night. Welcome to your Walmart.
Hey guys, this is my leak. This is the podcast. You probably have noticed, new look, new year, new me. Hello. I am here because today this feels like an old school podcast vibe for me. So for those of you that are new, bear with me. And for those of you who've listened to the podcast for years, this might feel familiar. So I used to start most of my podcasts back in the day as a reply to the things that were kind of a little bit. And as I grew, I've turned a corner on that approach. But I would like to let you know that today, right here and right now, I am back when it comes to this particular episode. As the year winds down, I feel like I am seeing so many, maybe I'm caught in some type of algorithm where I'm seeing all of these threads and posts and think pieces on how people are going to be downgrading or dismissing people in friendships that aren't working for them, and how people are only going to be making time for this kind of person and that kind of person. And while I get it, I am not saying that I don't understand those things. I am not saying that I haven't had a season or 3 of life like that, but it just feels very loud to me because I don't feel like I hear enough about what people are doing to be better in friendships, or how they are enhancing their skills, or where they now recognize they went wrong in relationships. And so consider this podcast an additional voice, because I don't have an issue with some of these things. I just think, like most things, you need an additional point of view. So on this episode, let me tell y'all, I have an espresso today because it is the end of the year. I have 2 kids. They are home for 2 weeks, and I am tired. For this podcast, as always, take what you need. Okay. If you're constantly having to cut someone off, we're just going to get right into it. If you're constantly having to cut someone off, this is not a judgment. This is a podcast for your consideration. I would like for you to think about a few things. Number 1, am I realistic in my expectations of friends? Oftentimes, we want for people to do what we would do, and we don't think about what might be going on in their lives. Is it realistic that my friend can come to my bridal shower in Mexico and then my wedding in Texas, and they have fill in the blanks, just got a new job, just bought a new house, don't have the job that I have, and maybe not able to afford it? Am I being realistic? And if your answer is that you would ... whatever the answer is, that's not it. Because you would stretch yourself past capacity does not mean that someone else should have to. So I just want you to think about that. Number 2, do I give the same understanding that I expect from others? You know, I don't know exactly where in my friendship journey that I had to really begin to understand that people aren't really trying to let me down as much as maybe they can't do something, or maybe they changed their mind, or maybe they committed to something earlier than they should have. And so when someone has to cancel, am I able to have some understanding? And I think the limbo that I found myself in was because I used to be so let down if someone had a change of plans or couldn't do something. I felt like I couldn't do that. I felt like I couldn't tell a friend that I overcommitted. And so I would stretch myself too thin. And I feel like I've shared this on the podcast, I feel like multiple times before, how I had a very close friend. She was my roommate, and I had asked her if I could borrow her belt, and she said no. And I remember just being crushed because I'm like, I would let her borrow every single thing that I have. And she said to me, I really love this belt so much that if anything happened to it, I wouldn't want to fall out with you over this. Changed my life forever. That was so beautiful, so kind. And, I still have so much love for her to this day, but it's just like, can I give understanding? Am I able to communicate? Think about it. Number 3, and this kicked off in the last thing I was saying about the old roommate, but number 3 is, do I clearly express my needs or limits? Wasn't that so clear what my old roommate said? Do I clearly express my needs or limits, or do I let frustrations build until I feel the need to cut someone off? Are you doing that? Are there better ways I could manage conflict or misunderstandings? That's number 4. Number 5, I want you to really think about this. Could there be some unresolved issues influencing your reactions? Did you have some friends in college, or some friends from your neighborhood, or some friends from the job, or one person, or let's keep it a buck, some family members that are influencing your reaction? I have learned that, I don't remember where I had heard this, but I heard that, I just want y'all to know, these children. I heard that, a lot of us bring our family stuff to work. And I think beyond work, a lot of us bring our family stuff to friendship. And there have been times where maybe I have been in friendships, or I have been like sort of parallel to a friend being friends with someone else. And it's like, you low-key looking for a parent. You're looking for a parent and not a friend, or you're looking for a romantic partner and not a friend. And so sometimes I wonder, do we have a clear understanding, of what we're looking for, or how to determine the difference between some of these relationships? Number 6, could I be misinterpreting actions or words based on past hurt or insecurity, which also wraps into that? Number 7, am I afraid of being vulnerable or having uncomfortable conversations? We are going to swing back to vulnerability because I feel like that is a big one. There has been something that I think about. I think I did a thread about this, that just because you consistently get together with someone does not mean that there is any intensity to the relationship. Just because you are grabbing lunch with a coworker every day or every couple days doesn't mean that you guys have pressed down at all. You can get together with someone for months on end and still be in the shallow end. This reminds me of I dated someone, and I looked up, I was much healthier. I was in a healthier place. And so months had gone by. I think we were approaching like the year mark. And I was just like, this just doesn't, we're getting together, we're doing the dinners, we're traveling. And I'm just like, I still very much feel like we're on the shallow end of this. And it was because there was no vulnerability and there was no depth to the relationship. And so some might, I don't know what he thought, but it could be, someone could say, but we were together, or we hung out, or we were doing all of this for so long. Yeah. But we never went to the deep end, And so I have some other notes on that. We'll get to that. Number 8, do I believe, no, this is the one. I want you to go get your highlighter. Go get your highlighter, pull out your phone. I want you to make a note, because this is the one that really just sings. Do I believe that friendship should always feel easy and perfect? I'll wait for you here, because I know this is the place where we really need to we need to get in a huddle, girls and boys. We need to get in a huddle. We need to get in a huddle, and we need to talk about this idea that friendship, I shouldn't have to. It shouldn't be like this. I got all this other stuff in my life. My friendships. We are humans, you guys. We are human. Friendship is not going to always feel easy and perfect. It is not. And sometimes it might be uncomfortable. That is not always a sign that the friendship needs to end. There have been opportunities with people that I care a great deal about that I have cared enough to keep going. I have been confronted by a friend. And you know what? I needed to be confronted. I did. And I'm so glad that, number 1, they told me and didn't cut me off. Number 2, they trusted the friendship enough that they trusted that the friendship was strong enough to hold the weight of something hard, and I feel like growing in this way, like I am a better person because of it. And so I'm just glad. And so friendship is not going to always feel easy and perfect. Okay. If any of this resonates, use this data to sort of kind of plot your points of how you want to get better at this. Like, I know we love those toxic friend posts, like heart, but what if we took accountability for the way that we show up in friendships and noticed the patterns and really worked to get better at these things? And so work with a professional, get in a group. I said, we're going to huddle. But if you always have your scissors out in friendships, I want you to rethink this, please. Next, I want to ask you this. Have you thought about the ways you'd like to show up better? Okay, got a little short list for us here too. Number one, and you probably have noticed I've been talking about this a lot, is what are your values, right? What are your values and what sort of people might you be looking for that align with those values? Trust, loyalty, shared interest that align, and then align yourself with these kinds of people. I was thinking about this today because I was at the gym and I call her my gym bestie. She's very much my gym bestie. She is in her 60s and we have that same value of just wanting to keep our bodies fit as we age. She is a mother and she is now a grandmother. She really has this sort of family first approach to life. And so I enjoy my time with her. We could not be any, more different on the surface. But when it comes to values, that is my person. Even today, we did a sweaty hug. I'm going to see you in the new year. Meet people in the places that are aligned with your values. Health is a value to me. So meet people where you are. Number two, are you intentional with telling your friends you value them? Maybe you don't need a coordinated photo shoot as much as you need to call or text or send a note telling someone what they mean to you. It doesn't even have to be over the top. You don't have to ask ChatGPT. You can just tell people how you feel. I feel like in some of my early years in therapy, something that just resonated, like I would be talking to my therapist and I would say, I just want to say this to that person. And she would always say, you have the words. And I can hear that every time something comes up of just, randomly wanting to send a text to a friend that said, hey, this was a year ago. Like a friend had done something for me and I said, thank you in the moment. But a year later, the experience was resonating and vibrating so loud that I'm like, I feel the need to tell you again that what you did for me, like, I don't even know if you knew where I was in my life at the time, but it's just important for me to tell you again how much that meant. Are you intentional? Number three, are you curious about them? I read something a few weeks ago that said the greatest form of respect is interest. Are you interested in them outside of their work? I add that one for you and me because I think so much of my life and my world was sort of blended. I created all these friends that I worked with. And so everything became sort of this like work thing. You meet people and it's just like, are you interested in them outside of what they do? Number four, are you present? And being present is something that I am still learning. I'm probably going to be learning that one for a while. But I am learning to be present. And being present is, I said this to a friend the other day. I said, we had gone on a trip together. She was going on another trip. And it was just things were getting busy. And I just said, okay, can I come and sit with you while you pack for your next trip? I can bring food, I can bring wine, I can sit, I can listen, but it's just like, are you present? And I think I am learning to be present, to show up, but not just that, but listening, listening, not trying to fix, not trying to solve, sitting with someone, offering to sit with someone, be with them, make connections. People are busy, especially once you become a parent, you're an entrepreneur, or you're just very busy. It's just like, how can I be more present? And are you consistent, at the pace or rhythm that you can be? Which brings me to number 5. Do you make room for life's ebbs and flows? Do you do that? Can you be understanding? If you have a friend who does, sort of campaign type things or friends that maybe work in sports, are you able to, hey, I know this is your busy season and, can I drop something off for you? Can you text them some Starbucks, coffee, some gift cards? I don't know. Sometimes I see all the things people are boycotting. I'm like, what are we talking? What are we doing or not doing? But I'm just like, is there something that you could be sending the person that is in a different sort of ebb or flow of life? Do you make room for that? Number 6, we're back to, are you vulnerable? Are you vulnerable? I have that in all caps. Do you share your real life? Do you share your challenges, or do you just share the highlight reel? And I know there's a separate podcast that we could do about safe spaces and, is it, can I be vulnerable with this person? What do I share? Is this person going to use some of these things against me? So on and so forth. And I get it. I do. I get it. And I think that it is important to be vulnerable. And if you're having a hard time, you have the words.
The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation, Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
This episode is brought to you by AWS. Amazon Q Business is the new generative AI assistant from AWS. Many tasks can make business slow, like wading through mud.
Help!
Luckily, there's a faster, easier, less messy choice. Amazon Q can securely understand your business data to help you streamline tasks, like summarizing quarterly results or doing complex analyses in no time. Q got this. Learn what Amazon Q Business can do for you at aws.com/learn more.
I don't have a lot of experience being vulnerable with friends. I am trying, Is there something that you want to know about me that maybe I haven't shared, And take it from there. Is there something you would like to say to me more directly? Invite people to maybe ask you something, because maybe people, there have been some situations, I'm not even going to lie. There have been some situations that I've been in with people, and I will find myself not asking them things because maybe I ask something, or I'm noticing that the lid is sealed tight. And so I'm not the kind of person, I don't push. But if you notice that, maybe you weren't the most vulnerable, if you care, maybe, is there something you want to know about me that maybe I haven't, we haven't discussed? And sometimes it might be something simple like, girl, you never told me where you work. You never told me where you work, or I know some people have a hard time, but how old are you? Are you vulnerable? Number 7, can you listen without judgment? Highlight this one. Can you listen without judgment? I'm going to veer off just a little bit here because I feel like something I've noticed in my life is that if someone, I forget the exact words, but it's just like, if someone tells you they are doing something that you didn't do, you can't do, you aren't doing, that is not an attack against you. If someone is and it's a small, I think I've shared this small thing, I breastfed my kids, and I'll never forget somebody said to me, well, I didn't. yikes, yikes. You know, everybody's not able to do that. I was like, yikes. I was simply sharing, I was simply sharing. I am not, I'm just sharing, or if someone, I've done a lot of, you probably have noticed, I've done a lot of podcasts talking to Dr. Lex, the sex doc, because I was just like, I got to grow up. I want to be able to sit with people and hear about lifestyles or how people are living or what people are doing and not be sitting there just like my eyes falling out of my head. Like, can I listen without judgment? Can someone live their life in a way that maybe I don't? And I not judge. That's for you. That's your deal. And I get it. I understand. Can you do that? Number 8. Are you giving as much as you're taking? Are you giving as much as you're taking? I was thinking this. I think sometimes I notice a situation where the word is like ask hole. Are you the person that is just like constantly wearing people down for everything? And there's just you're not pouring back into your friend group or anything like that. And if you find that you are always pulling more than you are like pushing or pouring, just think about it. I talk about this in my online community, my Leakin' Mamas, where I share that give people high fives, likes, supports, clap it up, because when the time comes when you need to know something, you want to build, a relationship where it just feels reciprocal and not that you are just using a large group, a small group, or a single person as your fountain for everything. And let's just say that person does know a lot about something or whatever it is. Are you giving as much as you're taking? Think about it. Number 9, do you cheer for them? Do you cheer for them? Can you support them during their tough times in your own way? Because everybody shows support differently, but do you cheer and do you support? How do you do it? What's your signature clap? I tend to have a little bag of tricks of things that I might do to celebrate friends, like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. That way you don't have to think about anything. It's like, hey, this is my signature coffee mug that I send every time someone gets a promotion, or this is my signature flower send that I, every time somebody does something. What is your signature celebration send? How do you cheer for friends? Make it personal. Maybe it's the thing you do. Get a stack of custom cards. It doesn't have to be big. It can be, maybe you got a particular meme that you send, whatever it is. What's your special cheer? Number 10. And this one is right up there with, are you vulnerable? And do you make room for life's ebbs and flows? This one is, are you ready to invest in the long game? Are you ready to invest in the long game? Some friendships, especially those good ones, develop over years. I was thinking about that this past weekend. I was having breakfast with a local group of friends that I made in my neighborhood. And as I was walking over to meet them, I thought to myself, I was so excited. It was cold as I don't know what. And I was so excited to meet up with, I think there were 11 of us, 10 other people that I know, have met, and thoroughly enjoy. But I thought about the very first time I hung out, or we started to form this group, or we started getting together. It didn't feel that way. In fact, in the beginning, I felt a little like out of place. Do I belong here? How do I show up? Are people expecting me to be like them? And my therapist gave me an offering to just show up as yourself, offer what you offer, do what you do. And once I started doing that, just being myself, and then things got so much better. And it's a long game, it's 3 years in, and that excitement that I now have, to go on trips with them and to do things with them developed over years. And so give it time. It might be slow for a while, don't make up stories about the speed, don't make up stories, please. All right. Now this last one. This is a grievance. Okay. This is a grievance. And I'm just going to say it because as a person who has been online for a long time, this is something I notice. And so I just want to say it is, are you a social climber? I have a good amount of experience in this area. The being on the internet will introduce you to this very quickly. Is this you or is this someone you know? I'm saying this for both sides of the coin, something you might want to notice. And here's the deal. If you notice it in yourself, you can work on it. And if I say these things and you start to notice them in others, you can go back up to the top and have one of those, back up to the top of this conversation and have one of those hard conversations with someone you care about. But number one, this person only reaches out when they need something or they can gain something from the connection. Is that you or do you know that person? Number two, their support is conditional and it's tied to what benefits them. They are hot and cold, enthusiastic when you can help them or you have some type of value, but they're distant otherwise. And this one, number four, she knows this. They disappear when you're not in the spot. They disappear when they don't see the light shining. They don't see the light shining on you as bright as they think it should be for them to be next to you. Number five, they frequently mention high status people that they know or want to connect with. I can tell you that in nearly every situation, there are a handful of people that I know. And so sometimes people are like, oh, do you know so-and-so and so-and-so? And it's, I don't. Or do you want me to introduce you to that person? No, not really. It's okay. Like if there's someone that I want or need to be connected to, I'll do it or I'll ask. But for the most part, I'm not. It's all right. Number six, the conversations center around climbing social or professional ladders. This one is tough because for a while, I think you'll notice if you get on some of the circuits, you guys probably notice this. You start to see some of the same people over and over again at everything. You see that same panel everywhere, year after year, you see. And that's only because a lot of the people who book for these events won't take the extra step or risk to try someone new. And they just, they kind of go with the same people over and over. And so when you see this, it becomes this it's a professional ladder, and then there's people clamoring who want to be on the stage. So it's just like a spin up. Number seven, they see your achievements as benchmarks for their success, right? They see what you're doing as a sort of like pace for them. It's a no for me. Number eight, their conversations revolve around surface level topics, no vulnerability, no emotional connection. And so you can see them all the time, talk to them all the time, and that's what it is. And here's the deal. I have nothing against surface relationships. I want to be crystal clear. I have nothing against surface relationships as long as everybody in the relationship knows where we are. We are in the shallow end. We're not in the deep end. So let's not pretend we're in the deep end. And let's not go there without a conversation. And so I do think that there is plenty of room for a shallow relationship, something very surface, something not too deep. I'm cool with that. Number nine, they may shower attention on more influential people while neglecting others. I see it. You see it. There are people who, they're hanging out with, being photographed with people who have influence, and then maybe they are dropping their friends. Is that you? Is there, are you in the space? Just be mindful. Be mindful. And number 10, the support is performative, right? Public displays of friendship for clout, but little substance privately, which is why sometimes I have such a way that I feel about some of these things that sometimes when I really care, I just don't even want people to know. If I meet someone online, I really want the person that I meet online to know that I really value the relationship. And so sometimes I don't even want to post or show or take pictures. And sometimes people are like, can we take a picture? And it's like, oh yeah, because I'm trying really hard to hold on to what's real, And so we talked about a lot of things, I think there are several sections with many points, lots of journal prompts, lots of things to consider. And so as we wrap up this episode, I want to just say this. Friendships are some of the most important relationships we'll ever have, but they take work, real work. They require intention, self-awareness, and a willingness to show up even when it's not convenient or easy. If you're constantly cutting people off or feeling let down, take a moment to reflect, not just on them, but on you, because your friendships are a mirror often of your choices, your boundaries or lack thereof, and your values. Whether or not you've been clear about those values, we'll find out. So ask yourself, am I being realistic? Am I communicating clearly? Am I giving the same grace I hope to receive? And on the flip side, if you want better friendships, you have to be willing to be a better friend. Show up, cheer for your people, get curious about their lives, be consistent, vulnerable, generous, stop performing and start being present. It's about the long game here, not just the highlight reel or the coordinated photo shoots. I hate them because I do love those, okay? And hey, if you are recognizing some of those social climber tendencies, whether in yourself or in the people around you, remember that it's never too late to pivot. It's not. You can say, maybe I noticed 2 or 3 of those things in myself or in some of my relationships. Never too late to turn a corner. You know, relationships built on status, convenience, or conditions will always crumble under the weight of what's missing. Authenticity, vulnerability. True friendships don't need to be transactional. They are about connection, support, and trust, not what you stand to gain. And so as we head into the end of the year, when all of the cut them off advice is flying around, I'm asking you to consider something different. Add this to the mix, reflect, take accountability, get intentional about how you show up. Because if you want better friendships in the new year, let's plant the seeds now. So I just want to thank you for tuning in and taking the time to think about what friendship really means to you. Take what you need from this episode and leave the rest. But more importantly, do something with it. Whether that means you want to reach out to an old friend, maybe you cut somebody off and you need to just share some kind words. Maybe you need to set some boundaries. Or maybe it's just sitting with some of these hard questions and make the choice to invest in the relationships that matter. Before we wrap up, I've got some exciting news to share. My brand new website is live at myleak.com, and my updated coaching offerings are now available. If you've been waiting to work with me one-on-one, don't wait too long. These appointments tend to go fast, so grab yours while you can. Also, if you're looking for a community that connects both online and off, let me introduce you to My Leak and Mamas. And don't let the name fool you. It's not just for mamas. It's a space where you can find connection, support, and a sense of belonging. You can find us at myleakandmamas.com. Lastly, if you enjoyed this episode or any episodes, do me a favor, rate and subscribe to the podcast. It helps more people find me. I truly appreciate your support. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.